Hello, Mount Vernon. This is Mayor Sean Patterson Howard. It is Wednesday, March 31st, almost 1 o'clock. I'm coming to you today because, as you've seen in the media for the past days, as you've experienced for the past few years, and ever increasingly over the past few months, the city of Mount Vernon's ability to be able to provide basic services continues to diminish due to the dereliction of duty, governmental obstruction of work here, and just the outright incompetence of Comptroller Deborah Reynolds. Right now, we are dealing with a fiscal operational crisis of great magnitude that is a risk to the public safety and the public health of the residents of the city of Mount Vernon. And this is all due to Deborah Reynolds as the comptroller's inaction. Ms. Reynolds refuses to accept vouchers for payments from 20 different departments. She refuses to cut checks for bills that she does accept. Sometimes it takes 6 months or a year, or even more importantly, some bills going back to 2018 that she still has not paid. And how does this affect you? Right now, we're dealing with a fuel crisis. We owe Sprague $94,795. She did cut a $22,000 check for them last week, but we owed them $94,000, so now we still owe them over $72,000. United Metro, we owe $71,239. Global Montello Group, we owe $49,594. And this is impacting us because this is the way that our police cars, our emergency service units, our fire engines, our DPW trucks, our snow plows, this is how the city operates. And owing over $215,000 in bills to our fuel companies has caused all three of our fuel companies to cut services off and end their contracts with the city of Mount Vernon. So there are some people, one blogger who lacks official information, put out today that I returned a $7,500 check from the Mount Vernon Police Foundation. So guess what? The blogger is not incorrect. I did return a $7,500 check, or I pulled it back, that was given to us by the Mount Vernon Police Foundation. Why would I pull that back? Because the Mount Vernon Police Foundation should not have to pay for fuel for police vehicles. So we have an appointment today at 3:30 with the Westchester County Court. And instead of bringing out a $7,500 check, knowing that we were going to court today, I cut from my own inaugural account, and Malcolm, you can put the picture back up there. I cut from my inaugural account a $1,000 check to Columbus Fuel Corporation on the corner of 3rd Street and Columbus Avenue. So from last night to today, our police cars could fuel up. I would rather spend this money from my inaugural account than use money that the foundation has raised so that if a police officer gets sick, if their family member gets sick, if they want to do a community outreach activity with children or with seniors or feed the community, these are the monies that this police community foundation money should go to. It should not go to paying for fuel. And so, yes, I did ask them to pull that check back because I would rather use that money so that the police can do community outreach with children, so that they could do community safety programs with our seniors, so that they can continue to help feed those who are hungry in our community, so that they can do National Night Out. It should not be used for fuel. And so if we are successful in court today, we hope that the comptroller will pay the bills. If not, we might have to go back and utilize that check. But a charity's support should not be the first line of defense against the comptroller not paying the bills. Malcolm, if you could just bring up, it's unfortunate that distrust in government, and I understand it because I don't always have a lot of trust in government either, but distrust in government has come to such an all-time low that any lie that anyone tells is something that will spread like wildfire. But today, let's put some truth to some of the facts. And so here is truth. If you could make that larger, Malcolm, I don't know if you can make that larger so that it can be seen. Yes, zoom into that. So this comes from Jennifer Master Giorgio. And if you can see it, it says 10th request. It was sent here in March, but please schedule an appointment to submit vouchers and invoices immediately. It also says, I've attached the signed vouchers and invoices for Komatsu. The vendor notified us today that they will be repossessing our wheel loader if they do not receive payment by tomorrow. Please pay Komatsu Financial Limited Partnership immediately. If you can scroll down, the amount of work, advanced auto repairs. If you could scroll down, Malcolm, advanced auto repairs. These are paying for parts to fix our trucks here. Atlantic Salt, Aztec Technologies, which pays for our photocopy machines, Campbell Freightliner, Circle Lubricants, Controlled Combustion. We're trying to submit bills to her to pay. They take care of our boilers, Dell Marketing, our computers, Empire Maintenance, Komatsu, Midland Truck and Auto Parts, Mount Vernon Battery Company. That is a local Mount Vernon small business that the controller refuses to pay. Pro Asphalt. If you could stop right there at Pro Asphalt. So you're asking why we're not taking care of filling potholes because the controller refuses to pay the asphalt company. Satellite Fulfillment, Smith Carnes, which is where we rent some of our cars to take care of city business. The controller, unfortunately, just refuses to pay the bills. And if you look here, Sprague Operating Resources, these are the bills right here for gas. Almost a whole page of bills going back to November. And then she has other bills downstairs from 2020 that she did not pay in 2020. United Metro, more fuel bills. And these are just the bills that we're waiting to submit that she refuses to accept from her. We've given her bills from United Metro, from Sprague, going back to June and July of 2020. It's very hard. I know it's very difficult for the residents to understand why the controller refuses to pay the bills. It's difficult for us to understand why she doesn't pay the bills. Let me be clear. My office, as the office of the mayor and the city council, is exasperated at the failure of the controller. We're exasperated. We are frustrated. We are tired. Unfortunately, as elected officials, we do not have the power to remove her from office. You, the people of Mount Vernon, voted her in. And the reason that we as elected officials don't have the right to vote her out or pull her out is because they don't want politics to play a real role in people being pulled in and out of office. The only person who has the ability to remove the controller from her office is Governor Cuomo. Governor Cuomo is the only person who has the power to remove the controller from her office. Not myself, not the city council, not the county executive, not our senators, not our assembly people, not our congressmen, only the governor. There has not been an elected official removed from their office by the governor in 100 years. I don't know if he's going to set a new precedent by doing this. He hasn't done it to this date. We have audits going on, but audits in and of themselves just can point to deficiencies in operating. It can point to improprieties, but not necessarily for the purpose of removing her from office. Malcolm, I can't see the questions. I'm sorry, I was speaking before. If you could throw up some of the questions so I could see what people are asking. Does the controller have proper credentials to be in the position? Unfortunately, the City of Mount Vernon charter never determined what credentials any elected official has to serve in this office. I'm not aware of her having an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. She was a financial clerk. I don't have her resume. It's not something she's provided. I can tell you that I have a master's degree in public administration and urban development. I can tell you what my credentials are, but I can't tell you what the credentials are of someone who is managing a $122 million budget. I can tell you that there are people in her office that do have credentials. Unfortunately, they're being held hostage, and many of them are not being allowed to do their job. Some of these people are the same people who worked under Comptroller Walker, but as the administrator of the office, it is the comptroller that has to allow them to do their job. What she is doing, which is improper in any financial organization, is that she herself collects money at the counter. She counts the money. She deposits the money. She takes the money and deposits it at the bank. She checks the bank statements when they come in and works with her staff to reconcile the accounts. I can tell you that in any fiscal operation, there should be separation of duties. The comptroller should not be receiving and receiving money. She should not be depositing money and counting money at the end of the shift. She should not be taking the money to the bank. This sets up an opportunity for financial fraud. And this is one of the things that I'm concerned about. When did you or the different departments submit invoices to the comptroller's office? We've submitted invoices to the comptroller's office once we get appointments. Sometimes it takes us 3, 4, 5 months to get appointments, but we submit them, and then it still will take another 5, 6 months for her to process them. Where is the money that you declared and announced that Mount Vernon saved during the pandemic? Well, I don't manage the bank accounts. I can tell you that there were 33 positions in the city of Mount Vernon that went unfilled. I can tell you that the comptroller didn't pay over $5 million of bills to our vendors, so I'm not sure where the monies are. Do you know the status of the city council investigation of the bank account funds? I can tell you this. As we look into the bank accounts that we currently have information on, which comes from Chase Bank, there is not much money showing in those accounts. We are waiting on financial records to come from another bank. We have not received those yet. But my concern is that because of the comptroller's failure to collect taxes, because of the comptroller's failure to receive revenues from the building department, from the fire department, from the police department and other revenue generating agencies, for the comptroller's failure to take in school taxes and condo taxes and residential taxes that she's refused and turned back, or hasn't cashed people's checks for months and then returns them to them when they're stale, that Mount Vernon may be experiencing a horrible revenue crisis. The school district has been able to collect 98% of their school taxes, which is twice as much as the city taxes. The comptroller has not told us what percentage of taxes she's collected from Mount Vernon residents. But I would challenge her that if people are paying their school taxes, which are twice the amount of taxes as Mount Vernon, why wouldn't they pay their city taxes? Yeah, Ms. Humphreys, you could say it's a shit show, but I don't manage the finances of the city. The comptroller does. So please, if you want some accountability as to what the comptroller is doing or is not doing, you feel free to contact her. You could ask questions, but you should be asking questions of the person who manages the money. Thank you, Ms. Humphreys. Okay, so as the City of Mount Vernon citizens, what can we do? I would encourage the City of Mount Vernon citizens right now. It's no longer about calling the mayor. Contact the comptroller. I wouldn't even encourage that you contact the comptroller because she doesn't feel she's accountable to anyone. I would encourage you to contact the state comptroller's office, contact the governor's office, and apply the pressure there, because they are also your elected officials. And so I think it's time that as your elected officials, that they are too also accountable to the residents of Mount Vernon. This is not an attack on the state comptroller or on the governor. I think that one of the problems that has caused people to be hesitant to act regarding our comptroller is that Mount Vernon has been a crap show, and the politics and the clown show of politics and distraction has happened here for so long that it's hard for them to even really believe that any of this is legitimate. When is the citizen protest? I mean, well, I think the citizens should organize that. But when you organize that citizen protest, be clear, the mayor does not cut checks. The mayor's offices, all of my commissioners take bills, they submit them to the comptroller's office, and it is the comptroller's office to cut checks. It is the comptroller's office to collect revenue from taxpayers, and it is the comptroller's office to receive monies from revenue generating departments, and they deposit them. We've had people show up over and over at City Hall to pay their bills just to see that her office is closed early without any warning or notice. She closes her office every Friday early for COVID cleaning, but there's no one in there cleaning that office. There's no evidence of cleaning. The taxpayers have the right to expect that they can pay their taxes, and that when they pay their taxes are deposited and accounted to their and credited to their account. But we have resident after business owner who says that they pay their taxes, and 3, 5, 6 months later, their checks haven't been cashed. And then they call to ask about their checks, and they end up returning the checks because the checks are now stale. That is bad fiscal management. Can you please tell us, as the people directly affected, what we can do? Names, numbers, emails, please. So what we will do is, I don't have name, numbers, and emails, but we will put them in the comment section of this live afterwards, and you can reach out to your other elected officials on a state level, because they are the only ones who have the power to remove her from office. So let me ask you this much. How much does a life cost? What happens if there is a fire and the fire trucks run out of fuel and someone, God forbid, loses their life? Who holds responsibility? What I can tell you is, right now, we still do have the ability to run our fire trucks, and we do have the ability to run our police trucks. And we are working with the County of Westchester, who will provide us with emergency opportunity for fuels. But we, as a sovereign city, as an independent city, should not have to go and fuel up at the county. We do appreciate County Executive and County Executive Latimer, Deputy County Executive Jenkins, and the Westchester County Board of Legislators for continuously bailing Mount Vernon out over and over again. But we should not have to take our police vehicles and our fire vehicles 10, 20 miles away to fill up for gas. We should be able to do that right here at our DPW yard, because we pay bills and we can have thousands of gallons of gas and diesel fuel delivered to our DPW yard. Any more questions, Malcolm? Because I can't see them. I think that might be it. Are any of our state assembly members advocating for us with the governor's office? I've spoken to our state assemblyman, Gary Pretlow. I've spoken to Senator Jamal Bailey. I've spoken to our Senator Alessandra Biaggi. Again, they are our representatives. One of the things that we have spoken about, and a few months ago I proposed, but everyone said, how could you allow the state come in and take over our finances? Months ago, I recommended a fiscal control board. And no one wants the state to come in and take over their finances. But when you clearly have no control of your finances, when you don't know if your community is on the verge of bankruptcy, and when you're not able to provide basic services, heroic actions need to be taken. So I can tell you that our Assemblyman Pretlow, our Senator Bailey, and our Senator Biaggi stand ready to advance a request to the legislative bodies for Mount Vernon to have a fiscal control board, but that has to happen with the consent of the council. And so that is an option to look at. Outside of that, we are looking at other options that we can do that will be heroic, that will be drastic, that will be very different, but we know that we cannot continue to wait for someone to rescue us. But if they don't rescue us, we need our state electeds on every level to back us up if we do take the move, if we do make the moves necessary to regain fiscal control of Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon has a deputy controller. The deputy controller doesn't have any qualifications necessarily. It was a cashier that was bumped up to the deputy controller, but the deputy controller is an appointed position. The first deputy and the second deputy are appointed positions, and they're only able to perform the duties that the controller who is elected allows them to do. They serve at her pleasure. And if they are not performing her pleasure, then she can fire them at any time. So there is no one in her office that has the appetite to stand up right now against her, because people are afraid of losing their jobs. And I understand that. But we are at a crisis and at a critical juncture. And so I think that's pretty much it. Please know that we're working with Westchester County. We are working with Westchester County, as we stated, to ensure that we have emergency fuel available to us, and that our cars and trucks and our DPW trucks can go up to the county and get gas, but that should not have to be so. We are going into court, as I said, today at 3:30, and we are hoping for a favorable response. And we're also asking, is the citizens of Mount Vernon, don't pay attention to a lot of what the blogs say. The blogs, unfortunately, just want to focus on the negative. Yes, and I will reiterate, like I said in the beginning, yes, I did ask my commissioner to please pull back a $7,500 donation that was given to a gas station so that we could work through court to resolve the fuel crisis. And yes, we wrote a separate check from my inaugural fund to pay and make sure that our police cars were able to gas up last night, and they have gas today. We don't want to have to go and ask a gas station locally for a refund of money that really should be used to work with the police department to provide community outreach or to provide emergency supports if their family members have a crisis. Foundation money should not have to be used to pay for gas. That is a function of the city. So on behalf of the city of Mount Vernon, Maria, Linda, and everyone that works with the Mount Vernon Police Foundation, we thank you for your benevolence. We thank you for your generosity. And if we absolutely have to utilize your funds to fuel up our police cars, we will. But we did not want you to have to be the first line of defense. Mount Vernon residents, I want to thank you so much for taking out this time to listen. I will try and keep you updated. I don't want to have to depend on news channels to do this, because unfortunately they've continued to use the dysfunction of Mount Vernon for ratings. There's a difference between you wanting to help to report the truth of the news and you just listening to silliness. I challenge news outlets, before you publish things, find out the facts. Make sure that we're using journalistic integrity. Make sure that as professional journalists, that you are using professional standards. We do not want our respected news journalists and our respected news and media outlets to continue to devolve and become nothing more than someone who is trying to compete and keep up with bloggers who don't have to prove anything. They can just put out mess and let people run with that. So Mount Vernon, we will always come to you and tell you the truth. We will back up what we say with facts and with proof of evidence, and we will continue to go from there. There was a last thing that came up, Malcolm. There was a comment, I may be wrong. Has the controller been in office for 3 mayors now? I don't know the details, but does this indicate that it can't be a mayor at issue? Josh, you've said it. She's had issues through Richard Thomas, through Andre Wallace, and now me. It doesn't matter who's in the office. If a person is incompetent and they don't allow people to help them, they won't be able to do their job. And Mount Vernon can no longer tolerate Deborah Reynolds, and nor can we tolerate the inaction of our elected officials on the state level, who are the only ones who have the ability to come in and bring remedy to this situation. Thank you, Mount Vernon. Have a blessed day. We will provide you with information so that you can contact the governor and the state controller, because right now, the citizens are the only people that they will respond to. Take care, everyone. Thank you, and have a blessed day.